I used to live in Chicago, but a twist of fate led me to relocate to Charleston, South Carolina. The reason? I had unexpectedly inherited a magnificent farmhouse, a place that exuded with its sprawling oak trees and the sweet scent of magnolias. The house boasted stained glass windows, their colors vivid and their age evident. A gracefully crafted staircase adorned the entrance, leading to 5 spacious bedrooms. 2 substantial bathrooms and a smaller one completed the ensemble. Outside, a pool awaited, although it needed some repairs due to missing tiles. The house was more than a mere dwelling. It was a tantalizing opportunity. It came fully furnished, adorned with antique pieces that echoed the rich history of the South. Curiously, no one from my family had ever lived there. It had been part of a debt settlement from many years ago, and as a result, it remained abandoned all those years. A caretaker was tasked with overseeing the properties, ensuring the house remained safeguarded through the years. However, when there was a division of assets following the death of a relative, I received the farmhouse as part of my inheritance. Being captivated by the property and having a deep appreciation for Charleston's historic charm, I saw no better opportunity than this. I was thrilled about my new residence and enjoyed taking charge of most things to make it exactly as I desired. After about 3 weeks, one day I found myself in the vast living room, sitting in a rocking chair making plans. I gazed at the colorful stained glass windows, which were undoubtedly quite old. My attention was drawn to one particular window at the end of the hallway, toward the back of the room. Suddenly, I saw a woman in a dark dress emerge from the bathroom, crossing the hallway without a glance in any direction. She entered a room downstairs, disappearing from view. I stood there, both mesmerized and incredulous. She was no mere apparition. She felt palpably real. Shaking off my initial shock, I switched on additional lights and cautiously followed the path she had taken. As I walked slowly towards the room she had entered, I was greeted only by the antiquated furniture and a grand, immense wardrobe adorned with a magnificent oval mirror. Yet there was no trace of the woman. What secrets lay hidden within these walls? The old house held mysteries, and I was determined to unravel them, one step at a time, one day while tidying the house, cleaning it during the night. The corridor lamps, stretching the length of the hallway, dimmed and flickered several times before extinguishing completely, only to reignite as if nothing had happened. I resumed my cleaning undeterred. About 20 minutes later, the same happened with the living room chandelier. I felt a bit apprehensive, went to the fuse box in the kitchen, but saw nothing that could indicate something was wrong. Exhausted, I decided to brush my teeth and retire for the night. At the sink, a sudden cacophony of slamming doors startled me, yet I had secured every entrance. With cautious steps, I surveyed each door, finding them just as I had left them closed. A few days later, I was by the pool, enjoying a marvelous moonlight with 2 of my friends. We chatted and sipped drinks while I stepped away to grab some ice. My friend excused herself to use the bathroom, leaving my other friend by the pool. Upon my return, she was fixated on something above, her gaze locked onto the upper floor of the house. Curious, I asked what she was looking at, and she said she had seen a woman open the balcony door upstairs. She was puzzled, not realizing I had company. I assured her we were alone. She described the woman with a black hair and was wearing a white dress, crossing the balcony before vanishing into the house. Later that night, my friends and I were already inside the house when we heard the sound of water in the pool, as if someone were diving in. But when we rushed to the window facing the pool, there was nothing there. Not even water splashed outside the pool. One evening, after changing into my nightgown and letting down my hair, I casually approached the window. A peculiar orange glow caught my eye, accompanied by a persistent red blinking light. It dawned on me that it was the car parked below. Its hazard lights were inexplicably on. I hadn't activated them, especially not within the quiet confines of the property. I would have noticed the sound that makes after turning off the car. As the days progressed, a sense of discomfort within the house grew. A storm brewed one day, bringing thunder, heavy rain, and frequent power outages. Venturing out of bed to check on the restoration of electricity, I was relieved to find the lights back on. After a visit to the bathroom, I glanced at the front entrance door, a massive wooden structure with a large crescent-shaped glass divided into 3 above it. My heart raced as I saw a face pressed against the glass, staring inside. But this was no ordinary face. It seemed almost inhuman. The eyes were unnaturally bulging, almost spherical and completely white, fixated on the interior of the house. I couldn't contain my fear. I screamed and ran away. When I dared look again, the vision had vanished. The following day, upon closer inspection, I realized it was impossible for anyone to have been outside that window. There was no ledge or handhold to support or climb on, and even if someone managed to scale the height using the doorknob, they would find nothing to grasp or anchor themselves to, and certainly not enough height to reach the glass. It was simply too high. As the inexplicable events persisted, my fear and anxiety grew, although didn't occur daily, allowing me time to recover and carry on. One day, while retrieving a can of preserves from the small pantry, I flicked on the light. As I searched for the can, an intense cold enveloped me, and suddenly, a scream echoed through the room. Startled, I turned toward the door, which slammed violently. Frozen with fear, I clung to the doorknob for a moment. The unsettling occurrences were pushing me to the brink, and I wondered if it was time to abandon that place altogether. One day, I had returned from a party, and it was already the early hours of the morning. As I was climbing the stairs, suddenly I couldn't see anything. Everything went dark, as if I had gone blind. Disoriented, I turned around, but my foot slipped, and I simply rolled down the stairs. I ended up at the bottom, hitting the back of my head, yet by some miracle I remained conscious. I just stayed there, not quite understanding what had happened. Fortunately, I was able to see once again. At that moment, I heard the sound of doors slamming throughout the house. Regaining my composure, I began to climb the stairs once more. Then I dared to look up, and I saw the same woman crossing the second floor before vanishing into thin air. I thought it was better to sleep that night in the living room. I woke up around 11 o'clock in the morning. I made a strong coffee and decided to change clothes and leave the house to clear my head. But when I arrived in my room, I saw my bedspread all torn up, as if by claws. Horrified, I saw that my dressing table also had a broken perfume bottle, and another was shattered on the other side of the room, as if it had been thrown against the wall with all its might. There was a mark of the perfume sprayed and dripped down the wall. I took care of cleaning up that mess and left to a friend's house. Later, I decided to visit my housekeeper to find out why she hadn't shown up at my house anymore, as I was intrigued and thought she might be able to tell me something. She lived a few kilometers away, and I took a taxi nearby and headed there. She told me that she was working for other employers and didn't have time to work for me anymore. So I inquired if it would be all right for me to ask a few questions. She consented. And I asked if she had noticed anything strange in the house, and she, without looking at me, said the last time she was there, I was rolling up the garden hose when I began to hear a noise, like someone sharpening a knife in the kitchen. When I peeked through the window, I saw a woman sharpening a knife and laughing frantically with her eyes fixed on the knife. So I went to the little room, gathered my things, and left as quickly as possible from there, because I knew that my life was in danger. And I stood there motionless, listening to her tell me all that. I continued to hear noises as if someone was diving into the pool, and I would run to the bedroom window to see, but there was nothing there. One day I heard laughter from downstairs, and when I went to check, it seemed as if nothing had happened, only the crickets were chirping outside. One day I woke up to something sniffing in my ear. Sitting up in the darkness, I watched the shadows until eventually falling back to sleep. Sometimes I would take a mild sedative prescribed by a doctor friend of mine, which had a strong effect because I wasn't used to it. One day my aunt was with me for the weekend, and as we prepared to sleep, we climbed the stairs. As we passed the second bedroom, we both automatically looked inside and saw someone sleeping in the bed. She said, "What is that?" I immediately ran to turn on the other light in the hallway so we could see better, and she ran with me, not wanting to be alone. When we returned to look again, there was absolutely nothing there. We stood in the hallway looking inside, but the room was empty. We both saw it, though, someone in a dark suit with shoes, lying on the bed. I remember this quite clearly. There was a day when I woke up from a nightmare terrified, soaked in sweat and shaking. I had clue what the dream was about, but I was on the floor, not in my bed. I reached for the lamp, but it just blinked out. I got up and turned on the room light, which also flashed brightly and went out, and I couldn't get it to turn on again. I had to turn on one of the hallway lights to get some light. After that, I just had to take a bath to cool down from the scare and the sweat. Sometime I was so tired from being constantly on alert that it exhausted me even more. I took a bubble bath in the tub to relax a bit and stayed there for a long time with my eyes closed, relaxing, and left the bathroom door open since I was the only one living in the house. I was in the bathtub when suddenly I felt a strong cold sensation that continued to increase, and soon after the impression of someone running down the hardwood corridor making a loud noise, as if someone or something had been running and fallen almost in front of the bathroom door. But I couldn't see anything because I was inside the bathtub, and from my position, I had only a partial view of the corridor. I grabbed a towel, covered my breasts, and curled up, staying silent in that horrible anticipation, and it stayed like that for some time, and suddenly something was dragging very close to the bathroom door, but it never reached the front of the bathroom door and would stop and start dragging again. It was maddening. I got out of the bathtub when the water had already cooled, and my teeth were chattering from the cold. I decided to throw a party to lighten the mood, and invited several family members and some friends, saying they could invite whoever they wanted, as long as they let me know beforehand. I let people roam freely through the rooms, just made sure to lock my bedroom since there were many strangers at the party. Everything was going well, with music, food, drinks, but without excess. And when I went to the front door to say goodbye to a guest, I was called to go to the pool and asked to look up, and there were two hysterical guests clinging to the railing of the huge upstairs balcony, screaming and looking truly terrified. The other guests went to help them. One of them twisted her ankle as she decided to climb down the balcony and jump onto the lawn. No one could understand what was happening. After a few tense minutes, as we all gathered to decipher what had happened, the two guests, still visibly shaken, recounted their harrowing experience. They had been enjoying the cool night air on the balcony when, upon deciding to head back inside, as they walked through the corridor, they heard heavy footsteps coming towards them and a loud scream directly in their ears, despite the absence of anyone else. The relentless screaming pursued them even as they fled in terror. It was enough to send them scrambling back across the corridor to the safety of the balcony, where they huddled, petrified, pleading for help from the guests below. That night, I made a resolute decision. I had endured enough. The thought of living in a constant state of sedation to stave off the fear was unbearable. I put the property up for sale and sought refuge with my cousin, biding my time until I could secure a modest house in Chicago. The events of those years have left a permanent mark on me. I still carry the bad memories of that period. In a recent conversation with a friend from Charleston, I learned of a chilling development. A murder had taken place in the house after my departure. Reflecting on this revelation, I am profoundly grateful to have escaped with my life from that accursed place. The echoes of its dark past, though distant, still linger in the recesses of my mind, a stark reminder of the thin veil between the seen and the unseen. Thank you so much for staying until the end. If you enjoyed the content, please consider giving a like and subscribe to the channel for more updates. Your support means the world to me, and it helps us bring more great content your way. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our future videos. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.